cannot intellectualize yourself out of the human desire to be loved. And that's why I think this entire decenter men, get hobbies instead of dating, it's all BS.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amaomi, aka Petite Diva, and in this video we are discussing if it's possible for women to completely decenter men and what can lead to the pick-me behavior of some women. Now this video is inspired by two particular videos that I saw. Now one of the creators was talking about the fact that she thinks that all this talk about decentering men by women is a whole lot of BS. Another creator was talking about the fact that it might be impossible for some women, especially the women that are usually never approached, to actually decenter men. Now let's check out what they had to say, and then I'll come back to share my thoughts.
When it comes to the conversation about decentering men, I feel like it needs to be different for women who have never been anyone's preference. I talk about this a lot on my account, but I'm just thinking about it as somebody who has done a lot of work to decenter men and romantic relationships. And I feel like the hardest part about doing it for me was contending with the fact that taking romantic relationships off a pedestal do not lower my chances of finding a romantic relationship. If you are a Black woman who feels like you've never been anyone's first choice, maybe you're the girl that everyone made fun of in school when someone would say, oh, like she has a crush on you, and they were like, ugh. Turns out that actually affects you and your personality and the way that you look at love and romantic relationships. You're welcome. I think the lack of dating experience in your formative years and as an early, young adult can directly cause you to fall into the hopeless romantic category in your mid to late 20s and up, which directly feeds into the pipeline of over romanticizing strangers, limerence, and essentially waiting for love to happen to you. So decentering men in relationships can be really hard because in a way, those things were never actually at the center of your universe because they weren't accessible to you, or you felt they weren't accessible to you. So really, it was more of a distant fantasy than it was the center of your thinking. So how should a woman who feels like she's never been anyone's first choice go about decentering romantic relationships? Seems counterintuitive, but the first step is for you to actually digest, understand, and accept that you are worthy and capable of having a romantic relationship. When something doesn't seem so far out of your reach, it's easier to stop romanticizing it and fantasizing about it because love is real life and it can happen to you. I think I did a good job at explaining that. I think the lack of dating experience in your formative years and as an early, young adult can directly cause you to fall into the hopeless romantic category.
So I'm just going to talk about my experiences as being undesirable for most of my life, if not all of my life. And this is why I always have some sympathy for pick-me's, especially for Black women who are pick-me's. And let me be very clear. I am not talking about the women who go out and mess up everybody else's life for a man. I am not talking about you, okay? But the women who, they have centered men, maybe they've made a fool out of themselves for men. When everybody in your family, everybody in school, everybody in workplace, strangers on the street call you ugly and disgusting to your face over and over and over again. And these fuck-ass men come in. Listen, I was trying not to curse in this, but I be trying, y'all. When these men come in and they breadcrumb you and they see that you've never been loved, and not just men, because I've had women do this to me too. I've had non-binary people do this to me too. But when people come in and do this, I think that pick-me behavior is a natural reaction. Now, as someone who has spent the last few years really trying to unlearn all of that, the mindset that I currently have is that no one will ever be able to romantically love me. I've been rejected hundreds upon hundreds of times, and I'm not saying this to get any type of sympathy because sympathy doesn't do shit. I am saying that this is the result of being considered undesirable because people will see that rejection within you and they will try to come into your life and they fuck around and they find out. And I sit back and I'm like, this person think I'm gonna be fooled. They think they about to get in this hot pocket. Then around and find out every time in the best way. Now, let me be very clear before you make an ass out of you and me. I know that this is not a good mentality, and I am actively working to undo it. But this is the result of what happens when you are considered undesirable as a woman or a femme-presenting individual. So I say all of this to say, if you are a woman and you feel like, your romantic interests are at the center of your life, baby, don't beat yourself up. Your journey to undoing that mindset is going to be very individual to you. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation. And yeah, I hope we can move towards a society where women are valued for more than just our appearance.
You cannot intellectualize yourself out of the human desire to be loved, and that's why I think this entire decenter men, get hobbies instead of dating, it's all BS. And it's coming from people who are too embarrassed to admit how lonely they are out of some shame they feel for perpetual loneliness. I will explain. All over my For You page, and especially my Twitter, over the past 2 weeks, people have been discussing this topic, which granted is a reoccurring topic, that you need to decenter men. That phrase should exclusively apply to not teaching girls that the best thing they can do in life is become a wife and mother, in terms of don't center your life around being an accessory to a man's dream. Right? You should have your own personhood. What it does not refer to, and what I think it's very detrimental to tell single people that it refers to, is this idea that you shouldn't prioritize romantic love, right? Human civilizations across time, almost every civilization has prioritized familial love, platonic love, the love between your friends, and romantic love. It's the stuff that makes up our fairy tales. It inspires our hopes and dreams. We are wired to want these things. Humans are social creatures. We're meant to live in community with one another. We're programmed to love and to be loved. And pretending you can just watch these TikToks or read a couple of books out of this human desire is nuts. And it doesn't even apply when you look at the ways we treat the enduring grief that comes with not having the two other types of love besides romantic, right? Because if I say I don't have a family, my parents are dead, I don't have siblings, or I don't have a good family, I don't have contact with them, people recognize that that is enduring grief that I will experience for the rest of my life. We acknowledge it on Mother's Day, Father's Day, the holiday season. We hold space to listen to the stories of those who are hurting, even those who have found family. Just this idea that there is something so painful about not having anyone who's related to you or the people who raised you. Similarly, we hold space for people who don't have any friends. People talk about how traumatic and genuinely heartbreaking it was to not have friends in primary school. It's something that still tinges when they're an adult. And then when people discuss how lonely they are because they don't have romantic love, then it's suddenly oh, you're so desperate. Oh, you need to get over that. You just need to get a hobby. Frankly, you should stop trying to pursue it. And it's why? And I never realized how hypocritical and cruel we were being to single people until I got into my current relationship. And I know that I'm going to marry my boyfriend. This is the best relationship that I've ever been in. I'm genuinely really happy. And it made me realize so much of the advice that we give to single people is just absolute bullshit. Telling people that a healthy, happy relationship is not something to want feels crazy, because if you are watching this right now and you are in a happy, healthy relationship, you know damn well that it's better than being single. Even the best times that I had being single, because there's something about being fulfilled romantically. And it's not something that can be made up for with my friends or my family, even though I have very strong friends and family relationships. It's just not the same. And that's fine. Why do we meet people with such disdain when they say they're lonely, especially knowing the onus we put on women especially to get partnered? This advice is never coming from people who are either really happy with being single or who are in happy, healthy relationships. It's coming from people who are fighting back the tears when they're making these videos or giving out this advice well, actually, I'm fine with my state and you need to be too, because I don't want to hear anybody else talking about it. That's very much the energy that it gives. And I'll end it on this note. There is a particularly disingenuous way that we talk about people who have been affected by the lack of romantic love when they acknowledge that it's because they don't meet the beauty standard, right? Yes, everybody is beautiful, but we know that some people they meet a specific beauty standard, and the people who don't, you have a harder time dating. Why are you making them feel bad for saying that? You cannot intellectualize yourself out of the human desire to be loved, and that's why I think this entire decenter men, get hobbies instead of dating, it's all BS. And
So I really encourage you guys to go watch that video, because every single word she said resonated with my exact ideas. It's just that I can't articulate it in a way that she can. So as you know, like I talk about my dating life and how it's going, and the most advice I get is decenter men, and I totally understand that, and that's what I was trying to learn. But a part of me has a small little thing, right? Because when I think about it, and we're thinking back to primal instincts, humans need people, which is literally what she was saying in the video if you are gonna watch it. We need companionship. And she also mentioned like the love you have in yourself, right? The things you do for yourself. It's not the same as having like platonic love for like a family member, or just romantic love for someone that genuinely loves you, not somebody who's just like playing around with you. And it's like I 100% agree with that, because like there's times I can spoil myself, right? Like it's coming from my bank account, like I'll feel fulfilled, but at the same time, like what about at night when I want to be held or cuddled or even just told these things? Like it's like a part of me knows I can love myself to the fullest extent, but it can never replace being held or being kissed or being like just told everything's gonna be okay by someone else. And I think this goes to say that like denying reality perpetrates a harmful idea. And I feel like it'll make people in a position of feeling lonely or feeling unattractive. You know, it'll make them feel like they're crazy. But I say this to say, I don't really agree with the idea of decentering men. I think it's more so just not centering your life around a man's life. Like, have your own life. You can still want someone, but don't let your life revolve around theirs. Don't become too dependent. And what's crazy is that I was called desperate and dependent for just wanting a romantic relationship. But the thing is, it's not like I would settle with just any man. The minute I deem someone is not suitable for me, I literally just block them and move on to the next. But for some reason, people told me I was desperate or I needed to focus on myself. And I mean, I get that. But like, what does loving myself look like if I already am satisfied with myself? I'm aware in the qualities that I have, and I acknowledge them, and I take full accountability for that. Yet when I say like I want a relationship or I'm looking for a relationship, and then I attract these bad men, which I do block out of my life, I for some reason need more healing, or I need to work on myself more. But it's like I genuinely doubt that I'm the problem.
Probably not joining the 4B movement, and I'm going to tell you why as a relational trauma therapist and healthy love advocate. I actually want to say that I believe it is a legitimate movement. I think it's very important, and I love that there are people who are moving in this direction. The reality is many of us are not even really equipped to join that movement anyway. It takes a lot of planning. It takes some sort of financial foundation, which can be taught and can be produced, but everybody doesn't have the luxury to really tough this world out on their own. And even with other female communities, depending on how those things work out. But that's actually not why I'm saying that I may not join. I actually think that it is possible because female community is so important, and it is in the very fabric of our DNA to commune, to connect, to share. I believe that community is the answer. I've been saying it on this app for actually years, but I'm not even going to go into that right now. But I want to speak to the girls who are like, yeah, I get the whole 4B thing, and I love that for y'all, but I like boys. As a girl who still is heterosexual and likes men and has a desire to be married, I don't think that the 4B movement is for me, although I champion my sisters who are doing it. However, there is a way for you to be 4B adjacent while still loving, dating, connecting with healthy men. Number one, the most important thing, if you still want to engage with men in this political and social climate, you need to be very, very clear about who you are. You have to be very clear about who you are and what you desire. Decentering men is not just for women who don't want to date men anymore. Decentering men is this idea that you no longer make men, relationships, and marriage the core center and aim of your life. You are the center of your life. You are the sun in your solar system. You are no longer living, moving, breathing for the male gaze. You exist because you are worthy. You validate yourself. If you're a believer or a woman of faith, you believe that your creator has already imbued you with all of the power, the validation, the worth that you need. So there's no more dating to validate you. You're not dating to stamp approval on your worth. You are not looking for anyone to validate who you are. So your first order of business is to decenter the idea that men are going to save you, to decenter the idea that men are what gives you value, your worth, and all those different things. You're going to remove those things, and you're going to pour back into yourself ideas, resources, books, scriptures, all of the things that reinforce the idea that you are enough with or without someone.
Now, I completely understand what those ladies were talking about. I understand their point of view, because it is not a bad thing to desire to be in a relationship, to be in a marriage, to have a good relationship, to have a good marriage. Now, the issue that led to people saying that women have to decenter men is when you make your whole existence about a man, about being in a relationship. Like, you really don't do things for yourself. Everything you do is to either get attention or validation from a man, and definitely not showing yourself love. Now, someone was talking about the fact that some women center men to the extent that they will gladly throw their friends under the bus. They will do a lot of things that might be harmful for them in the long run. They will stick to harmful relationship because all their thoughts, all they live for is the validation of men, to be involved in a relationship, to always have someone that they can say, that's my man, that's my man. So that's the reason why a lot of people are saying that women have to decenter men. Now, the other lady was talking about the fact that some women, like those that are never approached, aka the ugly friend in the friend group, that for those kind of women, they would romanticize being in a relationship. They might have the pick me behavior, because for those kind of women, they usually are not being approached, and when they eventually get approached, they would be so glad and put up with a lot of BS that they are not supposed to put up, and also do everything that they can to try and secure the man, secure the relationship, even at the detriment of themselves, because they usually are not approached. Now, watching the creator talk about that, and the person who responded to her, I actually was reflecting on the fact that some of the things that I put up with in my past situationship, or even the guys that I got involved with, were as a result of the fact that I was so glad to be seen after years of not being seen. And now that I think about it, I put up with things that I should never have put up with. But that time I was really, really glad. Like I used to say, I used to have low self-esteem. So the fact that people started noticing me was like, oh my goodness, am I that great? Am I now looking like someone that people want to get with? And it allowed me to put up with things that I should never have put up with. It took me quite a while to actually decenter men and just know that, okay, I'm not going to allow my life to be centered, or my dreams to be centered on male validation, male gaze, or the fact that, okay, if I do this, I might not get a partner or something. Now, it does not mean I don't want a relationship, I don't want a partner, I don't want a marriage, but it means that I'm not going to put myself down for anybody. Anybody that is coming or approaching me has to align with my goals, has to align with my dreams, align with my purpose. I'm not going to do what I don't want to do just because I want to secure the man. So that is my stance at this point in time, but it has taken me years to get to this point where I really don't think I can be the person I used to be, where I was trying to seek for attention, where I was trying to keep someone to like me or do things just so that the person would not leave me. Now, I think some people misunderstand what women decentering men is all about.
Decentering men mean that you have to stop blaming them for everything. What did they do? They just drag you along and you didn't have any power. You have to do a mindset shift and take ownership of your own issues and your own problem without focusing anything on them or about them. It's all about you and your healing and your journey to step into self-love. So we're not thinking about anybody else, we're just thinking about us. That is what decentering men or decentering anybody else is about. It's all about you. Mindset shift. All right. And so that's why I keep on promoting self-love, self-love, self-love every day, because self-love is just you thinking about yourself, you watering yourself, you feeding yourself, right? You feeling your own love.
Decentering men is not about not interacting with men. It's more about managing your expectations with men. It's about realizing that most of the men you interact with are not going to be that guy. And if he's giving unserious energy, just simply match the energy and get what you can get out of the situation and enjoy yourself. Separate yourself from the outcome of this man, because the outcome for you is irrelevant. The only way the outcome becomes relevant is if he makes it relevant. I'm going to give you an example. You can have consensual, safe relations with men and take them unseriously because that's how he's acting. But if this man behaves differently, then you can move him out of that unserious category and into a considerate category. That's what it means. Just manage your expectations around these men.
Again, women decentering men is not that they hate men. It's not that they want to kill all men. It's not that they don't want to be in relationship or in a marriage. It's that they don't want to make men and all they want and all their needs and everything about them the center of their life. They don't want that to be the focus. Now, women decentering men is all about women finding their purpose in life and focusing on it, whether they are with a man or not. Their validation does not come from people, it does not come from a man. Where their validation comes from is from themselves, and if they believe in God, from God. So it's not about them being validated by men in any way or form, but it doesn't mean that they hate men, because I think people are misunderstanding what the concept of women decentering men is all about. Anyway, that's my thoughts about women decentering men and if it is possible or not possible. Now, I would love to hear your thoughts about this topic. Do you think that women decentering men is impossible, or do you think it's possible? Do you think women decentering men is a good thing, or do you think it's a harmful thing for women in the long run? I would love to hear your thoughts. So please leave your comments in the comment section so that we can get this discussion popping. Now, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you are not yet subscribed and you like videos such as this, please consider subscribing by clicking on the red button that says subscribe. And don't forget to click on the bell notification icon by the side so that you're notified anytime I upload videos. Now, with all that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.